Yo, boxing aficionados, what's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. It's time. It's time that young Teofimo Lopez finally pays the price for his stupidity. It's time that that young man gets taught a lesson. A lesson in integrity, a lesson in forthcomingness, a lesson in what it is to live in reality. And here it is. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, and there's probably a lot of you that don't know what's going on with Teofimo Lopez, because quite frankly, he's not a big enough star for everyone to know what's going on with him. What's going on with him is that he wants to subvert his top-ranked contract, but more importantly is the reasons why. He thinks he's a much bigger star than he is. A much bigger star than he is. How do I know that? Well, because he refused to fight on a Friday night. A lot of you don't know this, right? But the date taken by Michaela Myers and I guess Sandy Ryan 2 weeks ago now, I guess, was a date that was slated for Teofimo Lopez. September 27th, Friday night, New York City, was a date that was slated for Teofimo Lopez. That date was slated for him as far back as December of 2023, right? See, when Top Rank does its schedule or when it views the year, it gets certain dates from ESPN. Those dates need to be adhered to because those are the dates that are available in which the network needs content. And content that doesn't get in the way of the college football season, NFL, and whatever other sports or programming that ESPN deems more valuable, right? So they slated September 27th as a date for Top Rank. Top Rank then gets a request from Teofimo Lopez around December after his victory over Josh Taylor. Well, actually, after he came back from his victory over Josh Taylor, which that took some time. And he expressed the desire to fight 3 times in 2024. That's what he wanted to do. I suspect the part of the reason he wanted to fight 3 times in 2024 was to be able to fulfill his top-ranked contract and get out. The more fights you have, the more you, the closer you get to fulfilling his end of the deal. So there was an extension that got kicked into place when he got the Josh Taylor fight, right? And he became a 2-time lineal champion, one at lightweight, next one at junior welterweight, 140, and thus kicked in an extension into his contract. Now, the young man signed that contract, right? He wanted that fight. He signed the contract. And Now, based on absolutely nothing, but his win over Josh Taylor and his delusion that somehow that elevated him into a pay-per-view attraction along the lines of Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis and whatever like that. Based on that, he wants to get out of the contract he just signed last year, right? And so he looking for ways and outs and thinking that he's too big for his britches, too big to fight on a Friday night, because now he's a Saturday night fighter. He's been saying that for a while. He says, why are you he's hanging around Canelo, and he caught the vapors. He caught the vapors of Canelo's fame, and he's thinking that just by hanging out with the guy, he somehow has injected Canelo's fame onto his own existence. It doesn't happen like that. First of all, Teofimo Lopez never capitalizes on a big win. Never, ever has he shown any proclivity to strike the oar correctly while it is hot. He failed to do so when he fought Lomachenko, opting, instead of giving Lomachenko an immediate rematch where everybody was clamoring for, or moving up to 140, since he was already at that point getting too big for 135 and was complaining about making weight. He was struggling to make that weight. He had been holding on to 135 just to get the Lomachenko fight. So at that point, after that victory, he had two choices: give Lomachenko a rematch, or immediately move up while the iron was still hot to 140 and then take on Josh Taylor then. Josh Taylor, who at that point had a hold of 4 belts. So he could have had back-to-back fights for undisputed. Now, I may be wrong about whether Josh Taylor was undisputed at that point, but at the very least, Josh Taylor was holding 3 belts: the Ring Magazine belt, the IBF and WBO, the IBF and WBA belts. So he had the BA, IBF, and Ring Magazine belts, all belong to Josh Taylor, right? He could have moved up to either have the undisputed fight or challenge for a unified champion right then and there. What he chose to do instead was stay at 135 when he was already struggling to make weight. He chose to then go ahead and fight in a Mando against George Kambosos, a fight nobody asked for, nobody wanted to see. And not only did he choose to do that, instead of giving Lomachenko the rematch, he also, this is beyond stupidity, he also chose to circumvent the purse bid process and force it upon Top Rank to bid on the fight, when he could have just struck a deal with Top Rank and gotten the George Kambosos fight. Because at that point, and people still not understanding, It wasn't about not paying TEO the money he wanted. It wasn't about that. It was about that in a purse bid situation, you have to adhere to purse bid rules. Meaning, if you bid $3 million for that fight, George Kambosos was entitled to a third of that money. So George Kambosos, who never cracked $200,000, all of a sudden was going to make $1 million. All because the fight goes to purse bid. Instead of TEO simply making a deal with Top Rank before the purse bid takes place, and then George Kambosos would have to make his own deal for that fight, knowing that he had no choice but to adhere to what was coming to him if he wants to fight Teofimo Lopez or fight for an empty belt, a vacated title, right? And if George Kambosos fights for a vacated title, trust me, he was not going to sniff $1 million. So he might as well make the deal for the $300,000 the Top Rank was offering him. So that's mistake number one with Teofimo Lopez. Fights the Kambosos, or agrees to go to Kambosos, circumvents the process, colludes with Kambosos' team to force the purse bid. So now Kambosos' team knows that there's going to be a purse bid, giving a chance for the likes of Eddie Hearn to get involved and other entities, other promoters to bid on the fight, but primarily Eddie Hearn, who's more of at that point a scavenger, always in Top Rank's business and other people's businesses, because he had no content for DAZN. That's why Eddie Hearn bid on that fight, because he had no content for DAZN. He had no American content anyway. So here he was, said, oh, we got this, this beautiful, we're going to take the purse bid and create havoc at Top Rank at the same time. That all came about because of Teofimo Lopez wanting to play hardball and not being a man of integrity. But God doesn't like ugly. And everybody knows what happened with that. Ends up having to wait a whole year and a half, I believe, extra to get that fight in the ring. They waited for more than a year. It was delays. Meanwhile, he's a kid who was already struggling making weight. That's how stupid. That's what you call, taking actions to spite your own face. Body knows to spite your face, right? It's crazy. It's lunacy. It's schizophrenic behavior and short-sighted at the very least. So that's what he does. Turns out, God doesn't like ugly. He gets his first L under those conditions. Now his star has diminished. First of all, his star wasn't that bright, because even after the win against Lomachenko, I was at a gas station. And I noticed there were this Honduran family. I noticed that they were Honduran because they had flags on, and I don't know why they were displaying their Honduran, but you could tell they were South American. I picked up that they were Honduran. That much I know. And I went up to them. There was a little kid, and I said, I just wanted to know. I was excited. I was more excited for Teofimo Lopez's win. Now I wonder what impact it had on his countrymen to know that one of their own is now undisputed lightweight champion of the world. So I asked. I went right up to him. Yo, todo Honduras. Sí, usted sabe que cómo se siente porque por la victoria de Teófimo López. ¿De quién? True story. I asked him, I said, how you feel about Teófimo López? You from Honduras? This was the whole Spanish conversation. The guy didn't speak a word of English. I said, you from Honduras? He said, yeah, I mean, Spanish. Sí, yo soy de... ¿Cómo se siente por la victoria de Teófimo López? ¿De quién? Didn't even know who Teófimo López was. Because Honduras aren't into boxing. They're not. I'm not sure. I think I don't know what their national sport is. Probably soccer. But it sure ain't boxing. They ain't like Panama, who had Eusebio Pedraza and has had, Roberto Duran and stuff. They're not that. Honduras are detached from boxing. And so Teófimo López has no fan base, no built-in fan base that have a rooting interest in his career. And he doesn't understand that, right? That's why, or maybe he does, and that's why he has to fake the funk on his origins, calling himself a New Yorker when he's really from Florida. He's never, he probably doesn't even know the subway lines in New York City. He wants to call himself El Brooklyn. He probably doesn't even know the subway lines that run in Brooklyn. If you put that man in a subway platform in Brooklyn and take away his cell phone, he's going to be hard-pressed to get to where he's going. So please, stop with the El Brooklyn shit. All right? But that's neither here nor there. So he overvalues himself, catches an L that he didn't need to even participate in, right? Takes him a long time to come back after the loss, doesn't accept the loss that Kambosos gave him. Kambosos fought a hell of a fight, the fight of his life, right? Kambosos capitalized on the opportunity that Teófimo López created for him. Kambosos then turns that into what? He made $15 million in the last 3 fights, at least. Against Haney, against Loma, against Haney twice, and Loma, he made at least $15 million. 10 of which came in the first fight against Haney. So he's made he made bank. He made probably more than $20 million. And meanwhile, what's his name? Teófimo López has to rebuild his career. Finally rebuilds his career, gets another opportunity at 140, comes back to get Josh Taylor, and has the night of his life. Upon the victory, you think that this guy says, I want Ryan Garcia next? You think this guy calls out Tank Davis? You think this guy says anything of the sort of dominance? Or say, I want, what's his name, Ramirez, Regis? You think he called out anybody like that and said, you know what, I want to stay busy this year. I want to take on everybody at 140 and become undisputed at 140 again? You think he did any of that? No. What does the dummy do? Oh, I'm retired. I'm retired, this and that. Goes into this whole song and dance about being retired. Because he thinking, I don't know how he thinks that kind of attitude and statement is in any way, shape, or form attractive to boxing fans. You think somebody's going to tune into that fight after that victory and want to see it again, see more of Teófimo López, and you think that him saying I'm retiring is going to compel them to want to see him again? I don't think so. It's a turnoff. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a turnoff, right? So now he finally decides to come back. He gets a fight against Jermaine Ortiz. He won that fight, but he didn't look spectacular because Jermaine Ortiz decided to play Jackrabbit, right? And then Top Rank, in its infinite wisdom, puts him against Steve Claggett, a come-forward fighter who is there to be hit, and he doesn't put Claggett out either. So he didn't look as spectacular as some expected for him to look, as his skill level and talent dictates that you would expect him to look. No highlight reel knockout, none of that. And based off of that, he finds himself with the gall to say, I'm not a Friday night fighter, and not take a fight in New York City, who's supposedly his hometown, right? And his opponent for that night would have been Elvis Rodriguez. Elvis Rodriguez, who is Dominican. People like Broadway Joe would have talked about that fight. It would have been a nice buzz in New York City. It would have been a nice buzz in New York City over that fight in Washington Heights. Brooklyn, el Dominicano en Washington, el Dominicano va a pelear in Madison Square Garden. Oh, wow. You know, you sell a couple of tickets just based on that. You know, that would have resonated in the hood of Washington Heights and Dominican neighborhoods. But this idiot, this dingbat, thinks he's too good to fight on a Friday night, while Jaime Munguia 2 weeks before fought on a Friday night. Jaime Munguia, who is at least five times as profitable a name as Teofimo Lopez, because he does have a Mexican fan base, because he did acquit himself well against Canelo Alvarez in a pay-per-view fight. He has the humility, or actually probably not even the humility, but the intelligence to just want to stay busy and say, oh, you want Friday night? Let's fight. I don't care. Let's do it. Boom. Pay me my money. But Teofimo Lopez is too good for Friday night. That's that stupidity, man. That's that dumb shit, bro. That's the shit that I have absolutely no tolerance for, man. And now he wants to get out of his Top Rank contract without fulfilling his end of the bargain. Well, guess what? What Top Rank needs to do is to shelve him. Shelve him. Offer him fights. Have him turn it down. And play that game. Since he already filed paperwork in the courts, fine. Play the game. Take him to deep waters. Extend the court filings. Top Rank, it's going to mean nothing to Top Rank to do that, because they already have lawyers upon lawyers on retainer. You think when Top Rank gets taken to court, they start dialing for a lawyer? Oh, and look at the yellow pages. Find a lawyer. We've been sued. No, that's not what Top Rank does. Top Rank has a law firm that they have on retainer. On retainer. That's what they do. Right? Not to mention the litigious career of Bob Arum himself. So he has lawyers upon lawyers and knowledge upon knowledge of how the laws of boxing and promotional contracts work. Right? Crawford sued Top Rank. Didn't get a penny. And didn't refile it. Top Rank did what they did, and then Top Rank and Crawford ended up basically not refiling his claim, because he saw he wasn't going to go into that deep, and it was frivolous to begin with. It was frivolous to begin with, and he was going to bleed money trying to engage in this pointless nonsense with Top Rank. And you think Teofimo Lopez has money to... I don't think so. I don't think so. He probably got a few million in the bank, but those millions would go quickly if you're taking on a lawsuit against Top Rank, an entity as deep in resources as Top Rank. But it's okay. Do what you got to do. My vote is that give him no buyout, because that's what he really wants, is a buyout. Somebody, buy out his contract, offer him a buyout. Nah, don't offer him a buyout. Nah. Offer him fights so that you can live up to your end of the deal. Offer him fights. Hey, you got this fight for you don't want to fight? Okay, fine. Go to court and say, we offered him this fight. We offered him this date. We offer him that date. We're trying to get him in the ring to give him, so we can fulfill our end of the bargain. He's the one saying no. And have that go on for at least 2-3 years. That's it. And then when you come back after 2-3 years, let's see how bright your star is still shining. Hey, listen, out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. You want to play them games? Fine. Play them games. Top Rank should get down with him on that. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. You heard? I am the Filthy Casual. This is Boxing Aficionados. Peace. I'm out.